My next claim is that Donald Trump is defying the Constitution.
Now it's recording.
Nice to meet you.
Pleasure to meet you, sir.
Man, meet you.
So I would say that with Trump
Look at
being
this guy.
anti-Constitution,
Game
I don't
on.
really care, to be quite frank.
Okay.
Because
I can't
in
believe no one's
regards,
thrown a punch.
Only
in
race he's
regards
ever
to the
won.
Constitution is a document that should seek to
Wow.
serve us.
Yeah.
And when it fails to seek to serve us, that can be amended. Laws can be changed. And quite frankly, the fact is we're defending things in this country that shouldn't be defended. The First Amendment should not defend pornography and making children and women be victimized. Making women and children be victimized as a result of that. I think things like blasphemy shouldn't be allowed per the First Amendment. I think that, quite frankly, there are a lot of legal processes that are enabling criminals and bad people to fully enact their will in this country in the name of the Constitution or following the Constitution. So, quite frankly, if Trump is anti-Constitution, good, and I think he should go further.
So this is wonderfully revealing of the modern conservative mindset. So I appreciate you spelling it out so openly. Just checking, do you support the Second Amendment?
I do.
Okay, surprise. I was shocked to hear that. I'm saying that Donald Trump is defying the First Amendment, the Fourth Amendment, the Fifth Amendment, the 14th Amendment. He's thinking of defying the 12th and 22nd Amendments. You're saying you don't care about the Constitution, but actually you do because you quite like the Second Amendment. You just don't like the bits that you disagree with. Can I just be clear on that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I'm more than willing to amend it and include
Whenever
the
it's in your
Second Amendment.
favor.
Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
so can Democrats do the same when they're in office?
No, absolutely not. Because
So you don't
it's the
believe in
friend enemy.
democracy?
No, I don't. Absolutely not.
What do you believe in?
Autocracy.
By who?
Honestly, quite frankly, anyone who is in line with Catholic teaching.
Donald Trump is not Catholic.
Of course, he's not. I
So-
completely agree.
So
and
you
that's part of
support
the problem.
Trump? You don't support Trump?
No, I don't. I didn't even vote for him. I wrote in like John Pork or someone. I
Why
can't
did
even
you-
remember.
Why did you vote if you don't believe in democracy and you want autocracy?
Well, because quite frankly, I voted.
This is
I kind
fascinating.
of voted just to.
I came with this
troll a
argument,
little
but
bit,
I'm bored of my own argument. I'm much more interested in this. So
Yeah, absolutely.
how do we get to an autocracy?
I think, quite frankly, that if we are able to enact local
Who
leaders,
is the we,
or-
by the way?
I think, quite frankly, these far right conservatives sitting right around
White
me.
people?
Yeah,
No brown
absolutely.
people. So
Well,
some
actually,
of you guys,
I have quite.
some of the people
I
in this
have
room
quite-
don't make the cut
No,
from what I can
actually,
see visually.
Actually,
Okay.
hold on for a moment. I do think that there are people who happen to not be white who do actually have history in this country and have roots in this country. For instance, from the Mexican-American War, we subsumed a lot of territory of people
Okay.
who have far stakes in this country who happen to be Hispanic or what have you.
Okay.
I'm for defending the traditional demographics of this country, which is majority white
So
and
how-
should stay that
How
way.
does the United States? I mean, we've gone so off topic, but how does the United States look like under you? So, what's your name?
My name is my name's Connor. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Took a little bit of a doubt there.
Oh
to say
well,
your name.
I use
Connor-
a pseudonym online.
Fair enough.
But
Connor.
fair enough.
How would Connor's America look? What would it look like?
Well, quite frankly, I think we would deport people who shouldn't be here.
No, I didn't ask about
whether-
deporting. What does the government look like?
What does the government look like?
Yeah.
I would say, quite frankly, it's under a sort of benevolent leader, such as
Where does he come
Franco.
from?
It could be a kind of aristocratic class. Could be someone
No, but
who,
who picks the?
frankly, the people. I mean, we could hold a vote on it. Kings
So
were
isn't
paid.
that democracy?
Well, sure. You can have a vote to get to that
And then
state.
no more votes afterwards.
Absolutely.
Wow.
100%.
Wow.
People.
And if that autocrat kills you and your family, you're fine with that.
Well, I'm not going to be a part of the group that he kills because
How do you
that's the
know?
whole thing.
How do you know?
Carl Schmitt
Autocrats tend to
Carl
kill
ma-
everyone,
Carl
even their own
Schmitt makes
supporters.
this point very well in his work. It's the friend-enemy distinction, right? You
Carl
liberals,
Schmitt, the
you-
Nazi
yeah,
theoretician.
absolutely. I don't care.
Are you
Who
a fan
ca-
of the Nazis?
I frankly don't care being called a Nazi.
I
at
didn't
all.
say that. I
Doesn't
didn't
matter
actually
to
say
me.
that. I said, are you a fan of the Nazis?
Well, they persecuted the church a little bit. I'm not a fan of that. But
What about the
you know,
persecution of the Jews?
well, I mean,
Frankly,
I certainly
quite
don't
frankly-
support anyone's human dignity being assaulted. I'm a Catholic.
But
And
you
so
don't condemn Nazi persecution of the Jews.
I think that there was a little bit of persecution
We
and stuff
may
like
have
that,
to
which is
rename
bad.
this show
But,
because you're a little bit more than a far-right Republican.
hey, what can I say?
I think you could say, I'm a fascist.
Yeah, I am.
Just a smidge.
It's like 6 minutes.
Absolutely.
I'm just checking who's clapping just to get my set of where everyone
Because
is on this.
in
Because you know
during-
that millions of people are going to be watching you on YouTube and
That's
checking
that
out who the
Tucker
fascists and the
Carlson
Nazis
laugh.
are.
I'm not ashamed of that whatsoever.
No, clearly you're not.
During the
Clearly you're not.
during the pre-war period prior to World War II, it was only those parties that properly enacted the people's will. That's why they won. The conservatives were fat
Are
cats. They
you
were
in favor of,
aristocrats.
are
They
you
didn't
in
care.
favor of killing people who aren't like you?
quite frankly, I'm not. If
You mentioned
they,
Franco earlier. Franco killed a lot of innocent people.
Oh, well, he killed communists. He killed people who raped nuns and killed priests.
What about children who he killed and women who he killed?
What are you talking about? He never killed any women or children. He was Catholic.
He only killed
dude.
combatants. Is that what you're
quite
saying?
He only killed combatants.
Never killed any innocent people.
The white terror was only punishing those people who did acts of terrorism. And again, are you supporting like raping innocent women? Nuns, dude. Killing priests? I mean, priests don't brandish guns and kill
You
people.
just refuse to condemn the Nazi Holocaust, my friend. I don't think you're in a position to ask anyone any questions.
I quite frankly don't care what you think about me. If I'm a Nazi and
the
being a
feeling
Nazi
is mutual.
and
So
being a Nazi means upholding human
Canada.
dignity, because I even believe in your dignity. I don't in a
I
state that I was
with the
running.
greatest of
I wouldn't
respect,
want to hurt
I don't
you or
debate.
anything like that. But
what are we
quite
doing
frankly,
here? I don't debate fascists.
okay. So do you
Even
concede then? I
yours.
mean, why?
Do I concede you're a
Even
fascist
your
who won't
dignity.
condemn the Nazis?
Yeah.
Yes, I concede that.
Okay, great. So I mean, what are we doing here? Because I mean, you
Don't
just seem
know what
offended.
you're doing here.
You
to be
just seem
honest.
offended, to be quite frankly. Like,
I'm offended by people who can't condemn the Nazis. Yes, I am.
okay. Well, I condemn the evils that they did, but I don't really
Against
care
the
about
Jews?
being. Yeah, sure. I don't care about being called a Nazi is the whole thing.
I never called you a
I
Nazi.
care
You
about
called
doing the
yourself a
right
Nazi, a
thing.
fascist, and a General Franco
Well,
supporter.
yeah, I am a General Franco supporter. He was awesome. He was so super cool, quite frankly. Because the whole
And you
thing,
don't believe in democracy.
I don't
Is
believe
there
in
a
What are
democracy.
you
word
doing
for
here at a televised debate?
abusing people
This
with
is
mental
democracy.
illness?
Don't want to debate and
Because
disagreement.
it is the means to support an end. The reason we have free
there a
speech
word
now is
for
because
what?
we want to be openly talking about our opinions so we can get the state that we want. But it doesn't mean
This is
upholding
great.
free speech after we win.
I
Again, I mentioned
the only good
the
thing about
whole-
this fascist moment
the
we're in
whole
is that
reason-
you guys are so open about it.
The
It's
whole
great.
reason
Say
I
the
mentioned
quiet part loud.
the
Keep saying
whole
it.
reason I mentioned Carl Schmitt earlier, and you kind of blew past him, is the friend-enemy
Blew
distinction.
past him because of the Nazi
Even
point.
liberals, when they take power, they want to enact policies
I
and they
so
want
wanna
to
know
enact protections for
what
their
that
people
fucking
and their
guy had
ideas,
to
and they're
say
willing to punish
with
their
the
enemy.
blouse and
And so
the
I'm the
man
same
bun.
way. I'm like,
Like-
hey, if you're going to punish me, I'm going to get in power, and I'm going to frankly punish you when you try to leverage power against me. Just that simple.
I'm not sure what you want to say.
What? Oh,
Hey, it is what it is.
All right.
exactly.
Pause. You've been voted out by the majority. Please return to your seat.
It's a pleasure to meet you, sir.
I can't say the same, but
Is there a word for abusing people who suffer from mental illness?
I think it's just bullying.
It's
You think he's-
he's not okay. Mehdi's not bullying the guy, but I think it is unkind to allow him to keep talking. Like at some point, we have to realize that we are dealing with a mentally disabled person.
But
who
what's
is so-
funny is how long, because it's up to all the other Nazis in the room or fascists to vote him off and stop him. But they're all like clapping, enjoying him. They're all with him. I mean, I guess if racism is a mental health issue, the whole room needs help. You know, they need history lessons. They need to understand the role of their religion and their complicity with the Nazis for like the Catholic Church, or even just the idea of like being incensed. Like, of course he wouldn't treat children terribly. He's Catholic, dude. I mean, speaking as a, as a
quite
Catholic,
frankly, count. There's so many yellow lights here. that
he's
I
definitely
think-
neurodivergent or something.
Let's
You
slow
know,
this down. Is that what the kids are saying it now? Like neurodivergent? That's what
well, it's like when you're on the autism spectrum. You know, so I've got relatives, in that generation that are on the autism spectrum. Yeah, that's kind of what they call. I call these folks like, reality divergent, because it just seems so hard to be a Nazi. You've got to
okay.
delude
Well-
yourself. It's easier to get along with people. It seems like.
The autocracy that he desires, led by just any Catholic who adheres to the Catholic doctrine, I still can't understand how that's just not the Pope. How is that not the Vatican?
Right.
Like, why wouldn't you just say, I want the Pope in charge of the country with full autonomy? Like, what? Isn't that like? Wouldn't that just be the church? Because as
Well,
soon as you
maybe
start having,
he wants a dictator to look after this world and the Pope to look after the next one.
but that even is not really an autocracy, is it? Because the auto of it all, that would be a duocracy, wouldn't
Right.
it?
Right. You know.
And if he's adhering to the doctrine of the church, well, then there's no room, there's nowhere else to go. Either the Pope has to say or you do.
Well, that's the thing. He said a autocracy, not a theocracy. If he wanted the Pope in charge, it would be a theocracy because it would be like a religious based society.
Well, therein lies my problem. But okay, but a theocracy could exist without the Pope, maybe.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Because
I mean,
then it adheres to Catholic doctrine, and then maybe there is some way to elect a Catholic president who isn't necessarily the leader of the church. Well, I guess
Or-
that doesn't work because it is a theocracy, right? But that's
like
what
what's
I'm
happening.
saying.
Yeah. Like
So
across
how can yeah,
the
go
state,
ahead.
you know, where like the Christian nationalists are trying to, you know, have the Bible taught in school. And there's this kind of blending, you know, Trump putting out his Bible, and I think it was the superintendent of schools in Oklahoma ordering a bunch of Trump Bibles and having that taught in school. That's theocratic in a sense. But it's not
Well,
necessarily
yeah.
Catholic, you know.
Well, yeah, it flies in the face of the separation of church and state, right? That's the problem. And this
Yeah.
guy has no concern for the Constitution, yet he wants to amend it. But if you have no concern for it and you want some theocracy or autocracy, then wouldn't you just throw it out? Why are you even being hindered by it? Why amend it? Why not just burn it?
Well, because the only way to do this is to take over. And so what you have is like, there's different types of coups. You know, you have your military coup. You have somebody like do an assassination and they have the military on their side and they come over and take over. But there's also a thing called like a self coup or a soft coup, which is like the guy in power erodes the Constitution, you know, whatever that is, the legislation, to a point where it makes it like Putin keeps taking over and taking over. Like, we'll amend the Constitution so that this other guy comes into power, but I actually, off to the side, can hold an office and I have more power. Then I move back into place.
Good,
That's,
good,
you know,
good. We're still talking about Connor.
I'm sorry.
There's no fucking way he's gotten through even the first two sentences of that gauntlet of complication.
You just didn't understand Catholicism. You know, the KKK, when they started, they were a Protestant organization, and one of the groups that they were attacking were Catholics. And that goes through, you know, the several rebirths of which I think there's like 3 of the KKK in the U.S. So he doesn't even understand how we got. The Spanish brought it. Then there was other waves of Catholicism with the Italians and the Irish, who were also not considered white for many, many years. I think the Italians barely became white during World War II, if I'm not mistaken. And
Okay.
Mexicans were considered white during that period.
He wants blasphemy to not be protected
God
by
damn.
the First Amendment. Porn and blasphemy.
Richie seemed at the porn part to not be too excited about that. He seems like he watches a lot of porn.
I mean, I could hear you out on the porn, like, is that speech, blah, 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 blah. But blasphemy? Again, you would have to qualify what is blasphemy by whose definition? And
Right.
we keep finding ourselves, to your point, back in a theocracy.
Because a Muslim is going to see blasphemy is different than a Catholic's going to see it, even though they're both Abrahamic religions, right? They're kind of connected.
And also just the parameters of it. Like if I'm like, oh Jesus, this guy is the worst. Am I going to jail?
Or is it like a misdemeanor, or are you going to Alcatraz Island? Well, actually, crossing the border is a misdemeanor. So yeah, I guess you are.
I want to be as generous to people as I can be about their intent or like where they're coming from or how they're arriving at these things. But this guy is such a mess of a mind. Like I honestly think that he's retarded. Like I think he's like fucking retarded. Not
Autistic?
not autistic, not mentally challenged, like hit in the head with a mallet on a cartoon, retarded.
He had a job. He actually, this is interesting. He claimed after this that he got fired from his job because he outed himself as a fascist. And you know, the liberal left-leaning media ran with that. And it actually turned out later on that he had been fired in January and grifted off of this to do a GoFundMe and make a bunch of money, maybe like 50 grand or something like that, from people feeling bad for him. Something
He
like
made
that.
50 grand?
Like 20 to 50 grand, something. I'd have to look at the exact numbers.
Also,
but
is it the
don't know.
fascism or is it the Nazism? Which I think, yes.
Or is it the big scary
Nazis are
guyism?
fascist, but I think that distinction even is worth discerning. Like, I don't know that you get fired for being a just generic brand fascist. I think when you narrow it down to Nazism, you can
You're
start
reading
running
Nazi
into
philosophy and
trouble.
going, I don't care. Yeah. What? Yeah, he was getting off on unmasking himself. There was a little bit of that. There was a lot of that, actually. The weird laughter.
That
I mean,
laugh. That's yeah.
the laugh at inappropriate times. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying he's fine and he happens to be a racist. There's definitely something off about the guy.
Something very wrong with Conner.
Yeah, he's eating yogurt out of heads, you know?
I
in his
can't make
fridge.
heads or tails. Like I cannot find one through line of logic that will tie up all these loose ends of his argument. Like that's my problem. Like this is the exercise I'm enjoying, like engaging in with each person, because otherwise we're just gonna be, we're just gonna be destroying these people, like shooting fucking ducks in a barrel. But
Yeah.
the challenge of it is to figure out, if we can, what they're actually thinking and why they're saying what they're saying, with the most generous of presumptions, which is that they are sincere and doing or saying what they think is right, right? So how do they arrive at thinking that this is right? But the roadmap to Conner's mind is just a fucking pretzel. There's no straight lines, man. I
Yeah,
can't.
did he get
can't
bullied
find
early
it.
on? You know, like Stephen Miller, who's like in charge of, he's like the chief advisor to Trump and in charge of his whole immigration policy. And he's a Jewish Nazi. And his origin story is that he was from an affluent family in Santa Monica. And then apparently, according to one of his biographers, Gene Guerrero, they had to, the business fell into disarray, and so they had to move to a different school, and there was a bunch of Mexican kids or Spanish speaking kids there, and that flipped him out. I think he got bullied a lot because he's kind of a weird kid.
What's the Franco thing? Can you make heads or tails of the Franco thing? Does Franco, because there's the tie in the Nazis and the Catholicism and the
I think that's the
blasphemy and
fascism,
the
long-running
pornography.
dictator in Spain, that was a dictator. I think he died in, I want to say 1973, like the year I was born.
Welcome back, Franco.
Yeah, well, actually, that's my mother's maiden name is Franco. Yeah.
Also, his use of frankly, so
that seems autistic to me. I mean, I'm not a doctor, but just like the repetitive thing that he, is fixated on. But I don't know.
Franco, like he's making. I think the synapses are popping.
Oh, quite frankly, frankly. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't think about that. Yeah.
You see? But these are the kind of like little connections retards hold on to, and then they seem to not make perfect sense, but in their minds, like frankly is Franco.
Like these guys, you should send him to Spain to talk to people who lived under the Franco regime and see how they feel about him. It's like like I have friends, like my teacher lives in El Salvador, my Spanish teacher. And we don't go hard on politics, but he gives me little views into, what it is and what it's like. And it's a different perspective than like I have a white friend who's sort of father-in-law, he's white, his sister has a business down there. And she's like, well, the gang started, wanting protection money from us. And so we had to like pull up stakes, and that's their perspective. They don't really see themselves as white colonizers going to El Salvador and opening a business. But when I talk to like a citizen there, and they're like, well, the guy's Bukele's made it very safe. He's put everybody in prison. And so it's great. But when you talk to actual citizens there, it's like, well, there's a great fear of not traveling with my papers. I've forgotten my papers. And because I had forgotten my ID during the ICE raids, I lost my driver's license. I was driving around LA, like going, oh shit. And he was like, no, dude, that's a real fear. I know exactly what you're talking about. And that's what I mean. Like, you got to send these guys to these places. Go talk to an actual German about Nazi history and how they actually feel about it. These guys are all cosplaying because they got the, complexion for the protection of the collection. But
maybe first let's send him to the cuckoo nest and see how he responds to shock therapy.
Or medication. Or whatever.
Well, how are we going to figure out what medication we're going to put him on if we hasn't kind of a few bolts, a few volts right through the brain, and that's how we find the levels.
I've never tried the shock therapy. I don't know.
All right.
They still do it, though. I think they still do it as far as I know. But like the reason I bring that up too is just like I was having dinner one time. This friend of ours in San Francisco would have these dinner parties where she'd invite different groups of people to sit and have like kind of a salon or whatever, but sit and eat and bring up different topics. And it was right after Charlottesville and that whole the Jews will not replace us moment. And I said, and there was one of the people there was a German national who was a history professor. It was a female. And I said, what do you think about the rise of neo-Nazism in the United States? And she was the one that was quick to point out that, the Nazis actually sent officers here to study your laws and study your processes of genocide. And it was like the thing I brought up about the showers in El Paso in the 1920s when Mexican immigrants had come over, and we'd put them in showers and delouse them with chemicals, including Cyclone B, which the Nazis used to kill the Jews in the showers. She was like, this stuff, they were copying you guys. It's in Mein Kampf. These are all like facts. Hitler name-checked the U.S. And there's a whole, connection between the American Nazi Party, or the first like America Firsters, and the Nazis, including like Charles Lindbergh and Henry Ford, who were given medals by the Nazis for visiting and being cool with Hitler. So there is this connection, and there's a disconnection. That's why people always get mad. Like, you're calling anybody a Nazi. Like me personally, I use that word very specifically, and fascist very specifically.
Yes, use that word very specifically. I do not use retard very specifically. I use it very casually. And just for
unbelievable.
It is a special kind of stupid, not an actual mental disability. It is, again, cartoonishly dumb. So I think there, even at this stage, can be a little bit looser application of the term Nazi, because even those who claim to be that, to your very salient point, have very little context for what that even really means. And they are cosplaying some kind of counterculture, antisocial fucking rebellion in their mind. And this word or group of people encaptures that, and they want to be seen as that. And if it were to come down to actually living in a society ruled by that, even if you were initially on the right side of that and not in the crosshairs of your autocratic fucking dictator, you would find yourself probably in peril. You would find yourself having a very difficult time to exist in a fucking society like that, and probably on the wrong side of that autocratic government soon enough, where you
become like a foot soldier. Yeah. He would be cannon fodder. He would not be in charge. Yeah.
Yeah,
You know?
at best, you know. So yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes it's fun to play with these things, but then when you boil it down to what these people are actually saying and what they're calling for, I think it's very generous of you to point out that they don't know what the fuck it is. The luxury of not knowing is what gives them the audacity of suggesting and asserting it.
Yeah, like this guy couldn't manage a Radio Shack, you know, whereas although maybe he's good at electronics, but you know, like
Yeah, I would like to know what job he got fired from.
yeah,
What
I
was
would
he
too.
doing? And also, how long would it have taken for him to make $50,000 on that job had he not been fired? Because if you do a crowd fund for the job that you got fired from, you should only get the money hourly at the rate you were being paid at your previous job.
I like that.
So,
Yeah, I you know,
this does not constitute a windfall. You know what I mean? Give him the $270 every 2 weeks that he would have earned, and then see what you can do in your life in that little stream, that little hamster wheel of water.
it's also very telling how online he is because somebody asked him his name and he
Oh
couldn't
yeah.
say his name. He wanted to say, I know what his online name is, but I'm not going to name check
Well,
him.
at some point he was smart enough to have an online name so he could say this dumb shit and not get fired. But just the glow and warmth of the spotlight was too much for Connor, and you had to
Yeah.
go out yourself. This is kind of how persecution happens. You think you're one of them until you're out yourself as not being one of them, and then you suffer consequences. Yeah, you're not going to win in an autocratic state. You're going to step on a rake, Connor.
But all this stuff comes out of, we can get to the next guy. This is like the 5 stages of fascism. The person that the first step is like the fascist leader emerges out of societal discontent. And all these people are absolutely, that's why, like I think the first time we talked, I said, I empathize with MAGA in the sense that the country is quite broken and full of problems. And it is the elite class that has caused these problems and refuses to give solutions that are actual solutions. They give tax breaks to the rich, 20-year wars, you know, the endless wars in the Middle East, and, you know, in Africa, all over, like both covert and overt wars, overthrowing governments and not helping out the people. We've wasted trillions in treasure and countless lives. And so that's why they went with either Bernie or they were looking at Trump, is because they were looking at, we want somebody that's anti-system and not system. And for some reason, they saw Trump as anti-system when he's something else. It's like the Dark Knight. You know, they turned to a man they didn't fully understand. You know,